Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Everybody, and welcome once again to Midnight's Edge After Dark. I am Tom Connors. I am your MC, what do you want to call me? The host.
It's called Master of Ceremonies, sir.
Master of Ceremonies. That's right. Me. Also joining us is Clobbering Times, my favorite orange man on earth.
It's Clobbering Times. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Nick, for having me. Well, Nick, of course, too, but Tom, great to be here. Hey.
You're still on your last show, I think.
Yeah, I'm a little backwards. Sorry about that. But good to see you all, your friends on the chat. I mean, all the panel and in the chat. And I'll learn how to talk tonight at one point.
We'll get you back in order.
What he said. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Start over. Now you're good.
All right. It's Clobbering Time. Hello, everybody. There you go.
Welcome again, my friend. We got a lot to talk about today. Also joining us is C Karaoke. How you doing, CC?
Happy to be here.
Looks like you got a lovely view there.
Watching the view while I'm on the show. It's a good day.
Shit, we could just sit here and watch your view all day. We just sit here and go.
Yeah.
Very relaxing.
Welcome to the CC Karaoke Traveling Channel.
Like, disturbingly relaxing.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
It's ASMR now.
Welcome to the show. We're here to talk about Superman and Little Spider-Verse.
Tonight we'll all talk like this.
Yes, we hope you're having a wonderful day.
Hey, how
should
are
we
you
all talk
guys?
like this tonight?
Yes, can we?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Script Doctor is also joining us today. How are you?
Hello, Script.
I'm doing well. Midnight Edge SMR, I guess.
Or NPR.
Totally gonna kick your ass, baby. Just give me a chubby.
Oh, I'll give you a chubby.
Anyway, yes. Thank you for being here, Script Doctor. I don't think we can keep that going any farther than that. Another fellow Canadian. How's your day?
It's been pretty busy. Just plugging away at some things over on my end, and yeah, exciting news today.
Indeed. And Nick is here, all 32 flavors of him. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Tom? Hello, chat. Hello, Wrenches, ActionCom, Mandy, Goddess, D-Bud. I see you all there. Mike, who's listening in. Nice to see you there.
Andy.
Alf's biggest fan. Yeah, obviously some huge news happened, and I think we got just the right guys here to talk about it. So I'm ready to get rocking and rolling.
First, we got to say it was confirmed that, rest in peace, Julian Sands.
Rest in peace.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think they were kind of prepping us for this the last few days. Wow.
Wasn't he missing for a long time?
Yep. Yeah.
5 months, yeah.
It's too bad. Hopefully we find out more, but yeah, at least now his family knows, and
man.
thoughts and all that going out to those
Right.
who are closest to him and whatnot. So it's too bad to hear, but we have some exciting news to talk about today. What's your first thought? Brings that notion up. He goes, it's funny how earlier you guys were talking about what are you going to talk about tonight? Cough, cough. The universe says, oh my beer. Hell yeah. Yeah, what's your first thought is referring to is we had our member stream earlier.
Oh,
we were
okay.
kind of trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. I'm not surprised though. I kind of knew this news also was going to be on the horizon soon because there'd been all the casting talk this weekend. I had heard something about Zaslav made a decision on this with James this weekend, and
Well, we knew they
I'd
were
also
doing this
heard
over Father's Day. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like Father's Day just passed, so we figured they'd have to come to a decision relatively soon.
Well, and I heard something else interesting script from one of my sources, one of my trusted ones, that said that basically one of these cast members was a shoo-in from the start. There wasn't really any competition, but we'll get into that when we get into the talk. So and it makes me wonder if James didn't actually have that individual in mind from the start. Accident Seller sends in 15 Norwegian krone and says, must once again ask you a question before my effing cat sits down on my key. Oh. Sorry, you wasted the 15 Norwegian krone there, Accident Seller.
Yikes. Damn, that darn cat.
That darn cat. Well, hopefully you didn't really actually have anything to ask us and you're just being funny, because we're going to get into this news now. This was the news of the day, basically. We have our Lois Lane and Clark Kent, or Superman, however you want to put it, in David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnan. Brosnahan, is that how you say it? Or Brosnan?
Yeah.
Brosnahan, sorry. Oh, and look who joins us. A rarity here on Midnight's Edge After Dark, Mr. Valiant, Renegade, media star and sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time, right?
Congrats.
Hey, don't
Didn't
bury the
expect
lead,
that.
Tom. Don't bury the lead. The story's up on screen.
Exactly.
Lord Almighty, I'm in the presence of, a national news star here, though. Script.
True.
We got to give him credit. Anyway, yes. Superman
I appreciate
Legacy.
it. Though. Go on with the story.
But what I was hearing about this was Rachel was like a shoo-in from the start. It was more or less her choice. It's from what I was hearing. And there was no
Or who tested well with her, best with her, right?
Best with her. Yes, thank you, Script. Because otherwise, the only way they were going to go with any of these other women was if she didn't want to do it. So it makes me wonder if she wasn't the one that James had in mind, because the ladies were talking about this last night, and the show that she was on, Miss Maisel or whatever. I've never seen it, but from what you guys were discussing, I could believe that. I could believe maybe he watched the show and he's like, "That's my Lois Lane," and this guy tested the best with her. Probably is the story I'm hearing. And again, I can't confirm this. This was just what I had heard from the same type of sources, let's say, that were telling me stuff leading up to all this business. So yeah, I'm curious to hear everybody's thoughts on this. This was kind of what the ladies last night had predicted, or at least their picks were for these roles.
Really?
I think this was the best choice personally. So I'll start there. So let's see here. We've got who wants to start? Valiant, since you just got here, you can go last.
That's fine.
Clobbering times. Let's start with you, brother.
Well, I must admit, like many, I don't know this actor or the lady.
That's why I'm glad I don't know the actor mainly.
Yeah.
So again, Superman for me.
Right. That is a good thing. It is definitely the wise way to go, as we all know, with for Superman, is to go with the unknown type. The Christopher Reeve, of course, we know how that worked out. The guy, I don't know, the face looks there. And he's got plenty of time to bulk up as Reeve did. So that's probably going to be the case. So it's impossible to have an opinion whether it'll be any good or not, because I've never seen him as an actor. But you start off with the visuals with Superman's comic book characters are very visual characters. They come from comic book art, and you cast the look, then you hope you got a good enough actor. That's definitely a factor, no question about it. Someone with charisma, but they do start with the visual, and which is why I was talking about this just the other night. Superman, for some reason, whether you like any film or not, any of all the actors that have played Superman in, They've always done that, and they've always ended up with really almost perfect casting every time. Even in a film, you know how I feel about the Snyder stuff, but Cavill's still that guy.
Cavill and
Good
Ralph
casting.
were also good
I
casting.
don't like
Exactly.
Right. I don't like Superman Returns, but Brandon Routh, was a good casting choice. He did a good job in a terrible movie, in my opinion.
Agreed.
You got
both fronts.
Ever since Kirk Allen, George Reeves, aka originally George Bessler, was real name, Christopher Reeve, Dean Cain, which I wasn't a fan of that show. A lot of people were. It was a good casting. Steven Gerrard, Christopher is Superboy. So for somehow Superman, they've always gotten it where I look at that guy again and I go, yes, visually that guy can be Superman, and always they always turn out to be a pretty good actor as well. It's completely the opposite way with Batman, but I'm not going to get into that because we're not talking Batman, for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's with a couple of exceptions. But with Superman, again, I look at the guy to go, yeah, I can see it. We'll see him. He's going to need to bulk up. Obviously, he's got plenty of time for that. As for
I think
Lois,
that's a good look there for Clark if you put some glasses on it, like Skip was saying last night, because that's the picture we saw last night where he's kind of slouchy.
He's got to broaden those shoulders up a little bit, but he's and maybe
they'll bulk him up for the movie.
Yeah, bulk him up, face still out. Right now, Lois, again, don't know the actress. Not a big fan of the character of Lois anyway. As a Superman fanatic, I've never really been the biggest, but she seems lovely, and people say she's an excellent actress. So you're fine there. I don't really want Lois to overtake Superman stories the way they've been doing of late anyway, like making him share a show with her, all this married crap. I've never been happy about them being married, but as a Superman fan, but old school. But again, she seems lovely, so this is good news, I think.
Well, it's kind of weird. There's some symmetry here, and I know some people are making a big deal out of this, but I'm going to bring this to the table, and I know Script probably knows where I'm going with this. Yeah, Rachel's 3 years older than David, but he's 29 and she's like 32.
Yeah,
that's good.
Pretty close to the gap that there was between Margot and Christopher Reeve back in the day, and he was younger than her. So I don't.
Well, Reeve was younger than her. Amy Adams is like a decade older than Cavill.
Yeah, that. Wow. Go with that one. That one's like way gapper. Big
gapper. Snyder was terrible at casting usually, so except for Cavill. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't see a problem with this. Lois kind of has to be a bit more assertive, a bit more independent, and we talked a lot about this last night on Toxic Femme, and it's a great combo. I think you guys should check it out if you haven't yet already, and I'm sure Andre will probably clip it out, especially now. Mm-hmm. But CC, what's your reaction to this?
I'll echo the sentiment. I don't know them, either actor, very, very well at all. In fact, I've never heard of them before, but I prefer it that way than to see somebody like a Tom Cruise. It's like, oh, that's Tom Cruise. Lois looks like Lois to me. I'm guessing, Superman will shave his gruff a little bit, maybe. I like the clean shaven look. One kind of other note, which I recall from the original Superman movies, is how they had him change the parting of his hair when he was Clark Kent versus when he was Superman. And I noticed that particular hairdo doesn't have quite the definition, so I wonder if they'll follow that concept.
The spit curl?
Yeah.
He's got to retain that.
I liked the idea of how they did that. I'd like to see him continue with that, personally.
Is he a tall dude, or do we know?
He's like 6'4".
He's 6'4".
6'4".
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a tall guy, which is what I like. I like that. We need a tall...
Clip that. Good. Nick likes tall men, folks.
I'm part of the Dix division. This is standard for me.
Remember, Hollywood and Google say he's 6'4", so in reality he's probably 6'1" or 2", give or take. Unless they decide to be honest here, which is rare.
I think
he was really tall. So
yeah.
But Nick,
hi, Shane Davis.
Tell us how much you like men here that are tall.
Well, obviously, like the other guys, I don't know who either of these two are, but I'm okay with the unknowns. I do like, for once, we might have a Lois Lane with black hair, and I do actually like that we got a young pairing for Clark and Lois. I think that's actually cool. I've heard that Rachel Brosnahan is a great actress, and that's good. But like Flubby, I do want Superman to be front and center. I would like for Lois Lane to be a good supporting actress, Lois Lane. We don't need her to be the main part of the story. I'd like that. I'm going to say it again. I like that he's a tall guy. I think I like Superman who could be, fairly muscular and then, tall. So, and hopefully they'll give him a nice classic suit. And he definitely like rocks the hair that looks like he could have Superman hair with an S curl, and give him that nice clean shaven face, and then nice farmer boy look. Yeah, I could see the kid from Kansas right there. I could definitely see that. So we'll see. Obviously, this is a very shockingly, at face value of what I'm saying, because obviously I don't know any of these actresses' past material, but from what I'm saying in terms of appearance and from what I'm hearing by word of mouth, surprisingly good news. However, I am going to get movie conspiratorial here. I don't know how long Gunn was sitting on this announcement, and if he was, did he fast forward this out to have some excitement to SDCC since all the major studios are backing out, and B, made people forget about the flush. Regardless, this looks good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get Script Doctor's reaction here, because Script was hanging out with the ladies last night, and they kind of predicted or picked this duo for the cast, and I'm sure they wish we had this picture last night. Here's a little bit of a look at what he looks like pre-build-up. So for those who are kind of curious what he looks like from the, I love CC's reaction. Now you got me wondering there. It's like, oh my. That was a little Takai there.
I don't know what to say. He looks good.
He just went slightly gay for a moment.
That's probably what you want from your Superman, isn't it?
To turn you slightly gay, yeah. No, there you go. So Script Doctor, yeah, you were on with the ladies last night talking about this. What's your reaction to the casting news?
I think it's a good start. One of the things that tells me about getting Rachel Brosnahan is that Lois is probably going to be a significant character in the films, which will be good because in the Christopher Reeve movies, she is very low tier in regards to screen time and interaction overall in those films. And Lois Lane is kind of a big part of the story. Now, I don't want it to be her story, obviously, but I would like to have enough fun scenes between her, Clark Kent, and Superman to really get fun chemistry, fun interactions, and a sense of actual concern whenever they get into trouble. I really hope that this guy can play not just the role of Superman, but also whatever James Gunn has written for the interpretation of Clark Kent. I hope it's an interesting Clark Kent. I don't want a very derivative, bumbling fool Clark Kent, because then it's going to be really hard for me to believe that he became a reporter for the Daily Planet. The only excuse that made sense with regards to the Reeve film is the fact that Clark Kent was like the fastest typist Perry White had ever seen. That angle is not applicable to current day because you have basically speech to text, and a lot of journalists do that. So Clark Kent has to be written into a type of character that has skills set necessary to be considered a cub reporter, or even in this case, given their age, at least a couple of years into being a journalist worthy of working for a prestigious paper like the Daily Planet. And if that's the smart take that James Gunn is going to go with, I think it'll really resonate with audiences and give us something that's the same but different. A Clark Kent that probably has a little bit of a meek attitude, pretty cautious, but is still assertive, confident, and able to have some good play with Lois as Clark Kent, and even some better play with Lois as Superman, because that would be the way that this gets sold to the rest of the world. As for Rachel, she, I think the reason she was probably, if the rumors are true that she was the first pick for James Gunn, has probably to do with the fact that she, with some of her acting history, has done a lot of period pieces, especially around the time of Noel Nell and all them. And I think that might be the attitude he's going to have for Lois Lane, the go-getter, the sharp wit Lois, who's competing with everybody, not because she's a woman, but because she wants to be the best. And I think that's what they're going for with her based on this casting. Because again, the other part too is a lot of directors in Hollywood don't like to cast people that haven't done something similar or close enough to the role initially in the first place. They want to see consistency across their talent. And when you watch episodes of Marvelous Miss Maisel, you can definitely see a Lois Lane type there because she's got wits and she's clever, and she's also playing a character that writes her own material. So you have hopefully a great example where we get to see Lois Lane actually write an article and we get a couple of paragraphs to see how good she actually is and way with words and whatnot, because that's one of the things that's always been lacking on the films for Lois Lane is we never really see. We're told she's good, but we've never been able to see any samples of her work that really say, oh, wow, that's great prose. That's something that I want to read the rest of that article. We never have gotten that before. So I think this is a good start. I think they're the right age. They're only 3 years apart. Margot and Chris were 4 years apart. So that means that you'll definitely get a believable decade worth of content if the audience likes this interpretation. And yeah, I'm all excited for it. I think this will be fun. Valiant, what do you think?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was typing in the chat. I'm like, shit.
I'm good. I was waiting for Tom to hop back in on that one to segue.
No, go ahead, Valiant. You're last.
I mean, look, I've never followed DC as much as some other comic lines. I just looking at the visuals here, I see two actors that could certainly fit the roles from a visual perspective. I don't know much about them, so I don't want to speculate too much and from that standpoint. But given what, if this is the starting point, I think it's got promise. And as I've told other people, and I've probably said here several times before, I'm more than willing to give this new Warner Brothers outfit a very wide berth, in terms of the direction they want to go, because they have to start over. They're trying to clear the decks. They've now got the Flash out of the way, if you can call it that. They have to get past Aquaman 2, and then we're going to finally start seeing what this new leadership cabal at Warner Brothers is going to put out. So I wish them the best. I hope this is what they've been looking for. And as of right now, like I said, visually, this works for me.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm on board with this pick. I'm giving James Gunn. This is his shot.
Yeah.
I think Superman is one of his best bets. I'm curious what he's going to do with it. I can't wait to see the first trailer.
I can't wait to hear who the composer is going to be.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I'm curious on that too. I'm curious to see who the villain's gonna be. I'm very curious to see who the villain's gonna be.
Michelle.
They listen to the ladies, yes.
I don't want Zod, and let's give Lex a rest as well. Yeah. Let's build up to Lex. Let's get that character.
I want to see
especially if it's good.
Or a Parasite.
Metallo, Parasite, or if you use Luthor,
my language.
If you use Luthor, use him with Brainiac or use him with Parasite or Metallo. Yeah,
well, that's the other casting we're hearing about. Okay, so for those who don't know, there's rumors flying high about or quickly about what's going on with Lex Luthor. Because here's the thing, and I guess I can say this anyway because I thought this would just be boring shit for just Script and I. But part of the rumors that I'm hearing a lot of this has to do with they got to get this shit all done before the possible actor strike. So they can get this shit moving.
Even though Fran Drescher did put out a video recently saying that negotiations are going well, again, the vote is to strike if the deal is not to the satisfaction of the guild members, and we'll be finding that out in about 3 or 4 days.
Right, and they made sure that, and Gunn knew, and he did it under the gun to try and make sure the script was in time for the writer's strike, and they averted a director's strike. So now if they can just get everybody signed before any kind of actor strike, that at least shouldn't delay anything too much at the end of the day once it's all said and done, because they want to get this movie moving by next year. But anyway, we'll be hearing about Lex Luthor casting, and I'm sure some other casting as we go throughout the next week or two here. But we were hearing the rumors that Bill and one of the other Skarsgård brothers are up for the role, but we also learned that Nicholas Hoult, who had put himself in the running for Superman, was also somebody they were looking at for Lex Luthor. And if history shows us anything sometimes, Script, 9 times out of 10, they sometimes go with that first gut instinct. And how much you want to bet Nicholas Hoult isn't our Lex Luthor?
I would not want to challenge that bet. I think it's a good probability he could be that guy. He's got the right, like, he doesn't have the heroic presence for an actor, but he could definitely do a villain.
He's got that kind of dangerous look about him. Yeah,
he was Beast in X-Men, but that only worked because they threw him into dog makeup by the end.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
But having him in Renfield, I mean, he plays a different character than this, but he does have this, like, he has this thing where he could do like a mix of a Lex Luthor where he is like a suave, possible love triangle situation with Clark, Lois, and him. Because he could be, you could see Lois maybe being interested in him, but he has that dark side to him, right? He can be charming, but he can play a great villain, I think, too, at the same time. And I think Renfield is proof of that, even though it's a different role, but it has, enough elements to it that I think he can pull it off. Otherwise, they're going to go with one of the Scars guards. And if they go with one of the Scars guards, that just...
Go with the oldest one.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's different. He's bulkier. He's different looking. He's got age to him. Luthor should be older than Clark significantly.
Yeah,
at least
I hated the idea that
like
they're friends from Smallville. I thought that was BS because it's like you're shrinking.
See, now that's what a lot of people argue with me over the Eisenberg one. Now, wasn't that a Superboy story?
What?
The whole Clark and him knowing each other as kids.
Well,
that's from the comics, Superboy comics.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Because a lot of okay, now for just context, what I'm saying is, whenever I bring up Jesse Eisenberg as a horrible casting choice for Superman,
he was horrible.
For Lex Luthor and how he should be older than Superman. They first of all they'll jump to the he's junior, and then it's otherwise. Well, then you got this side of it that he should be the same age because they knew each other in the comics. It's in the comics. It's like I always say, well, I thought that was a Superboy comic, and you can kind of take or leave that continuity.
It's gold and silver and bronze,
yeah.
And in most cases, Luthor's older,
yeah, because it's also the dumbest thing ever. Because one of the rules, I would add this as an addendum to like the Burnett axiom, which is never shrink your universe.
Right.
Never put your universe before your characters. Never shrink your universe.
It was done before he was born. So I love it.
And it's always this like thing where they can try and add this extra level of why Lex Luthor hates Superman. I think it's stupid.
No,
you already have enough that he just hates him because he's an alien.
No, he hates him far beyond that. Lex Luthor is a self-made man.
Yeah.
And then Superman comes and saves the day, and people start to forget about Lex Luthor.
Exactly,
that's what annoys him most. Especially, like, not just as a super criminal back in before he became the industrialist, but as the super criminal, he was the most unchallenged super criminal. Then Superman beat him, and now he's like, well, I hate Superman because I've never been beaten. And then we have the industrialist Luthor, where he is this guy who does evil things behind the curtain, but is loved and lauded by the rest of the world. Then Superman comes in and forgets about Lex Luthor. And Superman does good that's tangible and effective, and Lex Luthor just has advertisement that says he's doing good without any real results. And Luthor is jealous and hateful of the man and wants to take him down because Luthor has this ego about him where he doesn't want to be forgotten. He always wants to be remembered, and he wants to be known as the person that defied all odds, defies nature, defies everything, all through his wits and intelligence. And that's what drives him to various degrees. And one of the things that's also brilliant with regards to Lois Lane that's happened over the last 40 years with her character is the fact that she goes from a reporter who is very attracted to the superficial and grows to become someone that ends up being attracted to the substance. And that's why she falls in love with Clark instead of Superman. And I like the Lois Lane aspect because she's a more difficult character, where Lana Lang is just kind of easy, malleable, and acquiesce to do anything that Superman or Clark Kent wants to do, at least in my opinion. But, Clobby has probably a different perspective.
Yeah, you and I, we can't go there now. It would take 5 hours. So I don't agree with you on Luthor on any way, but
in most cases, Lana kind of she more or less represents the the love from high school kind of thing and that kind of a thing back. Home.
She's safe. She's
cooking
safe.
And all that business. Yeah, and Lois on the other hand is excitement and danger. Yeah.
Well, I mean, she's safe,
even though Superman
and Lois is a Spitfire who has her own personality that differs greatly from Lana Lang's.
Yeah,
and she's one that would actually challenge Clark regardless of his superhuman powers. Where Lana would just be like, I just think of you always as Clark.
Yeah, she doesn't need Superman; she just wants Clark. But anyhow, that just again depends on your version of it. And I don't want to beat this too much because we're going to probably talk about it in the morning show. And we also got Valiant for a short time here. So one thing I did want to touch on is just the abysmal box office Valiant. And you have been making the news rounds on the Disney news, so I want to talk a little bit about that. We will get to the super chats, guys. So just hold up. But Mihan here says, I want to ask about best box office before I ran out. So we've been talking about this on Mr. H's channel and stuff, where I guess Culture Casino looked into it, and with inflation, and this is ironic, the last time that a summer box office was this bad was, take a guess, guys. For those who actually listen to the show, be quiet. But if you haven't watched the show on the panel, please take a guess.
72, 73?
Close. Nobody else?
I got nothing.
Okay, 74.
34?
Yeah, I didn't want to. I mean, this is Pro.
What's the significance of that? Does anybody know where I'm going with this?
Well,
Jaws.
Godfather.
Jaws.
Well, technically, Jaws. Jaws was the first time we had a summer
Jaws in 72,
blockbuster
Godfather.
film.
First summer blockbuster, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Godfather was a Christmas film.
Mm-hmm.
Jaws, on the other hand, was a summer film. And yeah, so that was where the first time they're like, wait a minute, there's money in the summer box office. Because prior to that, they put all their big movies at the Christmas time, like The Godfather, for instance, and some of the other ones. Actually, I think Godfather got delayed for their big release, but then I'd have to remember exactly when it was released. We have to look at that. But it was Christmas, springtime in there. But Jaws was the first summer blockbuster film, which is funny to me that that's the last time that the summer box office season had been this bad.
Wow.
It was the year before Jaws.
And especially when you consider the number of films in the summer frame that we're in now with the budgets that they have. I mean, it's particularly atrocious. And that's, is June going to be a terrible month for theaters this year? No.
It has.
I mean, in terms of box office, yeah, but I mean, they still have people coming in. They still have, they're not getting what they expected based on the movies they've gotten. I mean, this is the thing at the end of the day, is that theaters still get their revenues. They're still selling popcorn, drinks, and everything else. They aren't going to be great, but they aren't going to be as bad off, I guess my point is, as the studios themselves, who are actually the ones really taking it on the chin right now. And it doesn't look like it's going to get substantially better. You might have a couple of bright spots in the next 30 days, but considering the number of titles coming out, it's going to be few and far between.
Yeah, I think Barbie and Mission Impossible are the only two that really have a chance at this point to.
Oppenheimer, I think, will do.
Oppenheimer
will do well. I
wonder if Oppenheimer isn't. I mean, it didn't cost as much. It's one of the lowest Nolan films as far as budget. I know, and it's weird saying $90 million is a low budget, but for Nolan, it is.
Yeah.
I just wonder if this is the wrong time to release this movie. I wonder if they should have held this off for Christmas.
I don't think Universal can afford that.
That's very possible too, Script. But I'm just saying for the Oscars side of things and all that business. But
it's not going to qualify for Oscars.
Really?
Why shouldn't it?
Oppenheimer?
Why wouldn't it?
And it doesn't have
enough black people.
It doesn't have the
Script's right.
We'll see how long these last. Oppenheimer might be the movie to do it.
I'm very, very confident that when they start doing the reviews for what qualifies for the Oscar, and they don't have enough movies to actually do a 90-minute show, they'll start rethinking.
I told you, Script. Yeah, it's going to either go with that, or it's going to happen that one year, and this might be it already. It might happen right away. Something like Oppenheimer that won't get nominated because of those stupid fucking rules, and everybody will be in an uproar about it.
Oh yeah. Remember, the Academy of Arts and Motion Pictures is a third party institution, and it really should not have any dictates over how people make movies. And yet Hollywood has acquiesced to this apparently
that's
for 1 year.
Problem.
And
because they have the power of giving them the accolades that don't matter.
The accolades are worthless.
On this.
The accolades are worthless. Always have been. It's always been used as a great marketing technique. And it's been used as one of the few abilities to get someone who wants to make a passion project through the system when all other aggregates would say, maybe you don't want to make this.
And I remember a lot of people pushed on this when they originally put this stuff up. They're like, "Oh, nobody's going to really care about this." No, the Hollywood gives a shit about the Oscars. They will, like you just said, acquiesce to whatever it is they fucking say to try and do whatever it is that they can to try and maximize their chances of slapping Oscar nominated or Oscar winning whatever, or X amount of Oscars on that cover for that Blu-ray DVD or the poster or whatever. On Netflix.
It holds the same value as Oprah Winfrey's book club pick of choice.
Yeah, I mean, and look, and this is going to rub people, some people the wrong way. And I'm sorry, but let's be honest. How the hell do you think that Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture?
Yep. Well,
I mean,
that was
not. There was nothing special about that film at all.
It was a terrible movie, actually.
It really was. It was a bad movie. It was touted as one of the greatest things ever since the invention of the wheel and the discovery of fire. And I watched it on the Disney Dream, one of the cruise ships. That was the only time we've ever taken a Disney cruise. I watched it on the boat. It was the opening Thursday night. They showed it on the vessel. And, we walked out of there, had a group of my friends. We're all big Marvel fans, big Marvel fans. We're like, okay, it was serviceable. I mean, and then it gets the Best Picture nomination. It's,
Yeah.
We all read the reviews from places in the Hollywood trades, and we knew exactly why, based on those reviews, why it got what it got. And that's what the Academy Award does. And that's nothing against the people in it or that worked on it or anything like that, but that is the criteria they use now, and it's silly. And that's why, look, folks, the proof's in the pudding. Capitalism works. Nobody watches the damn Oscars anymore because nobody cares, because everybody looks at it in middle America as a joke. It's a joke.
Good.
Which it is,
Yeah.
Heck, there's a time when Steven Spielberg was making fun of the Oscars and the fact that you have the greatest movies ever have either not been nominated or not won an Oscar, but they're still more remembered than anything that has ever been nominated around. And the Academy really pushed back on him on that one because they're like, you just tried to, crush us. And Steven was like, you didn't let my friends win the Oscars that they should have.
Well, and he also you even got video of when he didn't get nominated for fucking Jaws and how disappointed he was at that time. And if anything, that's the one movie he really fucking deserved it, because he damn near killed himself making that damn movie. And I mean, it practically we talk about saving Hollywood. Yes, Godfather, Exorcist, all those played their parts in it. But let's be real. The movie that was going back to my initial point of 1974 being the worst year since now. Jaws literally saved the industry. That was a point where they realized, oh shit, we can make this kind of money. Like Jaws made the kind of money they had never even dreamed of before. I mean, and that movie just kept going and going and going. And I mean, they haven't been able to look back since, and that's what's gotten us right to this moment here. Like you can draw a direct line from Jaws to this moment in time.
It's kind of funny. We're talking about Jaws. My wife recently did the junior version of Finding Nemo, and it was funny pulling the kids. Hey, do y'all know why the shark's name is Bruce?
No, nobody does.
I don't get it. I mean, of course, Renegade Jr. was like, I know. Shut up. I know you know. That's why I'm not asking you.
Of course you know.
It's like one of his
it was in your DNA when you were born, kid.
Yeah, it's like, you know exactly why that was. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I know. I love that bit. But no, yeah, and as far as the Oscar goes, yeah, they're a pale comparison to what they used to be, but it doesn't matter because it's not about us, it's about them, and that's why Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in movies like Indiana Jones, which opens in
Friday.
Literally hours in some places, because Andre's going to be seeing it.
Oh,
soon,
international's going. It's about to launch internationally.
That's what I was going to say.
Right
we're like
now.
literally hours. Yeah,
it's out in China right now. This will be, and this is why I don't have too much time tonight, because I've got to go finish dinner and I've got to go record a video. It'll be coming out tomorrow morning on it. But yeah, don't expect much, kids. It's about it's going to open about as well as The Flash. So
they're still saying 60 million, aren't they?
Deadline is pegged on that number. They are not budging, and I trust them. They've been more right than anybody.
That is not good, kids.
No, it's not good.
I mean, not for this year.
Well,
in 1980, that would have been great.
Yeah.
1980. Well, it opened better than Raiders of the Lost Ark script.
Fuck that noise. Yeah, no. Well, let's not even get into that business. Valiant. Let's be real here, because this is part of the reason you've been out on your media spurg that I've been kind of poking fun at you. But no, I'm really proud of you for getting all this attention, because
I still have no idea what the hell happened.
Look, you're right. You're one of the only people who, besides, some of us out here, but you're one of the more number guys out there that really shows the proof and shows why math isn't completely racist when it comes to this business, because Disney is staring at losing close to $1 billion this year just at the box office, you've been saying. And I think you're 100% correct.
Yeah, the TTM was just bad, and I've been looking at it a while. That's trailing 12 months, folks. I'm sorry, I'm getting in my lingo here. The TTM, the trailing 12 months, has been terrible. And you go back, and I said, let's just start with whatever came out June 1st of 2022 and move forward. Well, there were 8 films that began with Lightyear, and here we are. So yeah, no, it is what it is. I kind of had an idea in my head. And when I actually started running the spreadsheets and doing things, I'm like, oof, this is bad. And I really went in doing that video thinking, this is going to be like all the other videos where I spend the most time, the most effort, the most number crunching. And it's going to it's going to be one of the worst performing videos that I ever do, as opposed to like, watch Kathleen Kennedy get humiliated on stage with Steven Spielberg. Surprise, it got picked up. I've never had that happen with one of those kind of videos before, but very, very humbled and thankful for it. But yeah, Disney is in the predicament that it's in. They've put themselves there. Indiana Jones is not going to help. It's going to make that $890 million figure worse significantly. And of course, they still have 2 movies to bail them out, which I think should absolutely do it. The Haunted Mansion and Brie Larson. I mean, the Marvels.
You mean you're being
fun.
sarcastic right now, right?
Oh, I mean, just a bit.
I was going to say, because there ain't one Haunted Mansion project that I know yet that has done any successful.
I mean, it's like, look, honestly, the Haunted Mansion is kind of one of those things at the end of the summer that could surprise, because it took the Marvel's slot at the end of July, and that's kind of one of those movies that if it's good and it's just a goofy, fun.
They should have saved it for Halloween, probably. But anyway,
well, it was supposed to go off in Halloween in November, but they flipped it with the Marvels because the Marvels was such a train wreck. Apparently, they needed more time to go back and fix it, and that was because remember they made that decision to fling the Marvels out of the July slot and move it back to Thanksgiving, and then move Haunted Mansion back up from Thanksgiving to July. That was right after Ant-Man 3 bombed and they fired Vicky Alonso. That's when that decision was made, like the day of or like 2 days later, to push the Marvels back. So no surprise there.
Interesting.
Yeah. I have to go back. I mean, when I say 2 days, I'm like, it might have been 4 or 5, but it was almost immediately after.
Well, we know the Marvels might get lucky
right around there. Yeah.
Get a bunch of people to buy, seats for it that don't show up. But I mean, I just don't see the Marvels doing anything.
Well, they're giving away tickets at Applebee's for Indiana Jones.
I know, right? Like we were talking about that in a few places now. Yeah. It's crazy.
So if you live around Talladega, Ricky Bobby, you know where I'm going with this. And Applebee's real popular out there, and you go to that Indiana Jones screening Saturday night out there in Alabama, and it says that your theater is sold out and you're one of only 3 people in there, you know what happened. And they're not really free tickets. I mean, Disney is paying for those ultimately.
We talked a little bit about it. Like it's a coupon deal, and
somebody has to pay the theaters for those tickets. And it
counts towards the box office, right?
That's the thing. It counts towards the box office, but then there you can argue, is Disney really making any money? Yeah, they can write it off on taxes, but is it really worth what they would be making if it was a straight ticket? No. It's basically a loss leader. And I've owned my own business. I've done coupons before. That's exactly kind of how it works. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But it'll allow them to say that the movie made 60 million instead of 50, right? Effectively.
Yeah. If enough people were, let's say, like, okay, this is like whenever you buy like the Blu-rays and it's got a free $5 coupon or free ticket to the movie. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Is it's like they you're right. They still have to the theaters still have to be reimbursed for that. Basically, they just don't send in that money, is what it is. It's just, they count it off on their end. But it's like, it's how it works. It's a loss leader of sorts. I don't know how else to put it.
The sales have to exist, and then from those sales, however many percentage of them is the coupon is what goes into the claim with Disney Disney, in turn, has already pre-sold those to the franchises as part of a cross-promotion marketing technique to boost interaction at the restaurants, which means that Applebee's bought a discounted ticket and is giving it as a coupon that is hopefully going to be tendered by the theater, and then that's going to go back into Disney, and they're going to say, yes, this marketing strategy worked, therefore it is worth the deal that we had to comp them to sell them these tickets at this discounted rate. That's how the cycle of things works.
And what
either way, Disney makes money, not 100% of that ticket price with regards to the coupon, but they make some.
And what Script is explaining there is basically these promotional deals that we get with all these movies. This is how they work, and this is a tie-in to what I was talking about, or what we were talking about one of the last shows we were on, where we were discussing why The Flash had to be released. That's one of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They get these licensing deals, and they're set up for specific times, and they do these promotions. And we saw this happen with Wonder Woman, where Doritos is like, fuck you guys, we got a whole warehouse full of Doritos that are about to go expired if we don't release them. And they got Wonder Woman shit on them. Sorry, they're going now. So that was a problem. And this is a problem they were trying to avoid with Flash, on top of all the things that we had discussed in that, and the foreign set. They got this all over the world. It's not just the US. So it's
Frito-Lay's paid Warner Brothers a lot of money to get that deal.
Yes.
And in order for them to make that money back, they have to sell as many units of chips with those images on it as possible. That's how it works out. The same thing with Applebee's. They have to hope that during the time, this window leading up to Indiana Jones, they have packed houses every night so that they can say, yeah, look at us. The money we spent paid for itself, and then brought us an additional amount of profit. That's what they're hoping for. And Disney is also hoping that they get to have all those coupons, because those are technically pre-sold. And even though it's going to be written down against them to a degree with regards to how much they're actually worth, it's still going to show circulation. It's still going to show points. It's still going to show value for Disney with regards to that cross promotion. When Lucas did that with KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, it didn't work out into their favor because for some strange reason, the way that the deal worked just was not lucrative enough for the restaurants. The stuff that they were giving away, or that they had to manufacture themselves for Star Wars, ended up being more expensive than just a general deal of like a coupon or a glass or something else. Like Batman Returns had the glasses from, I think, McDonald's. Same with like Batman Forever. That's all McDonald's paid for. They said, we'll make the glasses and we'll do the promotions, but that's it. We're not doing anything else. If someone wants to do toys, they can sell us the toys for a discounted rate, and we'll give them out with Happy Meals. But they wanted those. Everything else,
that's how this shit works
above the board. But yeah, I guess George Lucas kind of wanted a lot more.
And that's where, like I was talking about with the Taco Bell deal, that was a huge fiasco, right, for Taco Bell and Star Wars. And then that's why I think George went to Burger King with the prequels after Episode 1. But anyway, moving on. We got a couple of super chats here that I think for you, Valiant, so I don't want to lose you before I get to them.
Yeah, sure.
Eric Kelly sends in 20 smackaroos. Thank you so much, Eric. That's very, very generous of you. Tom and everyone, have you seen the Flex Little Mermaid stands are touting about the 5.8 million in
Filipino pesos? What?
That's about 105.
Honestly, I don't know whether to take that as being sarcasm or legit, because I can see that actually happening.
Quickly, I wanted to get you on this because we were talking a little bit about this on our member stream, and I think I can't remember where else, but Jonas was joining us, and people were talking about how they're trying to make this big deal about the Little Mermaid. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about it on Mr. H's, where now that since it's crossed $500 million, it's profitable.
Right. Sure. And
wait. I got a button for that. So I want to hear your response to that whole thing. That kind of
it's typical marketing Disney Hollywood studio BS and spin. That's all it is. And this is the problem. And I've said this so many times, and this is going to come to a head on this next Disney earnings call that we'll cover live like usual in August. Disney doesn't have even the spin anymore for, we were the biggest studio at the box office. Guess what? Universal is eating your lunch right now. And it's going to probably keep happening, at least up until a few weeks ago. Disney doesn't have that same clout. People are starting to wise up to this thing. $500 million at this point for The Little Mermaid. Fantastic. It's about done. So in theory, we can say that, okay, it recovered its production budget, and that's fantastic. It will now go to Disney Plus, where it will die and make no money.
I would argue it hasn't even done that valiant.
Well, I mean, if we assume that the $250 million stated is what they actually finished at on time and on budget, let's just go with that for now.
You still got to go with whatever you got to factor in what the theaters are keeping. And granted, Disney looks like they're keeping this one in for the 45 days, so they get to keep the extra on the opening weekends. But still, they still got to pay out that. So they're going
to wind up with 55. It doesn't matter. They're going to wind up with
exactly. That's my point.
Domestic and 43% international. China is a non-factor because they only.
And then you also got to factor in P&A.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is that they've covered their production budget on the Little Mermaid, quote unquote. What they have not covered and what they are not going to cover is the $150 million they spent to market this thing into theaters. So the losses on The Little Mermaid in total for Disney will be about $150 million. So this movie needed to get to about $800 million, which is typical fare for Disney these days. We see them. I mean, here's the thing. Everything that Disney puts out into theaters is a major event production thing, right? They're all $200+ million, $200 to $250 million. Everything Disney's putting out. Look at other studios. Look at Universal. Look at Paramount. Look at Sony, etc. Lionsgate, especially. They don't put anything out. John Wick 4 was the biggest thing Lionsgate put out with a $100 million budget, probably in the history of ever for them. You look at other studios. Yes, they spend $200-300 million on major event pieces, but they also have a buttload of just $20, $30, $40, $50 million things. Look at this J-Law picture, Jennifer Lawrence picture that came out this past weekend, the rom-com they did. $45 million was the listed production budget, according to Sony. Here's the thing. Is that going to make all of its money back in the theater with production and marketing? Probably not.
No, but it will on streaming and video.
I was about to say, who's really paying the bills for all these small game Sony pictures like The Woman King? Netflix. Netflix is paying Sony.
It's already made its money back.
Exactly. Yeah, Netflix has got like $1 billion+ contract with Sony for the pay one window distribution, where they go to Netflix. So that's the way most of these studios, and Script knows this, he can speak to this. Most of these studios used to act like this. I mean, for decades.
That used to be how they used to do it. Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
They would hope to maybe break even at the box office. If they made money, great. If they lost a little bit money at the box office, it was okay, because the real financial shelf life of a film, if it was good, especially if audiences liked it, came after it left the theater. You got guys like Disney, and you can throw Warner Brothers in there too, to a large extent, where they are self-consuming everything after they leave the theater, and they just, they're stroking the Disney Plus credit card through the swiper to quote unquote pay themselves. And that's why DTC for Disney is $13 billion in the hole.
And I think you broached this on your podcast the other day, Script. And I would say another thing to add to that, Valiant, is the other problem is instead of the way it used to be when they would do this system, is majority of the films they would put out would be mid-level films, right?
Yeah.
They would only do 1 or 2 tent poles, if not 3 at tops of the year. And can't even think of too many times they would do 3 in most studios. Usually it was 2.
Yeah.
Then they would spend less on the rest. And then hopefully one of those big ones would make your money back, or you would have one of those smaller ones hit, and that would where you would luck out. The problem is with this Little Mermaid thing and the $500 million thing, it's no different than the superhero argument about the whole, is it, fatigue? Is it whatever? It doesn't fucking matter, because at the end of the day, you're not in this game to break even.
No.
You're in this game to make fucking bank. And when you've got a lot of other people to pay besides yourself, you got to make a lot of bank. And when every one of these movies is expecting to make $1 billion fucking dollars, this would be like going back to the 80s or 90s and expecting every one of your movies to come out and hit $100 million. That just wasn't how it worked. Because $1 billion is now the new 100 million. And it's worse than that, because these movies have to make this much, right? And I bring up like The Batman as an example, right? People go, well, how can you say it's a disappointment when it made $700, $800 million at the box office? Because it was expected to make $1 billion. To even be really profitable, it had to make $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
So like that's the problem, is these guys are not in this game to break even. They're in to make money like the Spider-Man No Way Home or Top Gun. That's the kind of money they want to fucking make. Well, of course, not everything's going to hit like that. So what can you do? Well, the best thing you can do is go do what James Gunn has been saying, a few others, is start making some mid-level stuff.
Yeah. Even the low end stuff, spend, 10, 20 million. Look, Insidious, the 5th Insidious movie is about to come out. I'm going to go see it. Five Nights at Freddy's is probably going to make bank. Let me tell you, John Wick Chapter 4, $432 million at the box office. Little Mermaid, $500 million.
Yeah.
Guess which movie made more money?
Oh,
If you
dollar
say
spent,
Little
it was definitely
Mermaid,
John Wick. Yeah.
I was about to say, if you're saying Little Mermaid, you're clueless.
Yeah, because people have been forgetting about the expenses. That's one of the big arguments that I had to deal with when people were saying, "Oh, The Force Awakens paid for Lucasfilm." Like, no, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
Didn't even do a dent.
No.
It barely paid for the production and made them a little bit of money, but then that money was put right back into the production of The Last Jedi and whatever they were doing over at the parks and all that kind of shit. So yeah,
Well, I even
really
recently,
didn't.
people kept asking about why, if they had watched the video, they would have known. But people kept asking why that Avatar 2 was omitted from my chart in that most recent video that went everywhere. And I've
good
said it in the
point.
video. I'm like,
Fox paid for it.
yeah, exactly, because Disney didn't make it. Disney did that out of the $70 billion they spent to buy Fox. That is the one headline thing they've gotten out of it that has worked. The problem is that Disney probably spent $200 million to market that film into theaters. If you go with a traditional pure 30% of the net rentals coming back in, so let's say that they got about $1 billion back from the 2.3 that came in from theaters, maybe a 1.1 billion. Let's say Disney got out of that 350 million. The rest went to Cameron and Lightstorm. They probably spent 200 million to market it. And guess what? Where was that movie supposed to go to streaming originally? Warner Brothers, HBO Max. Which is where it's streaming right now. It wasn't supposed to go on Disney Plus.
I don't know how they pulled that off. They must have paid. So that means they must have paid HBO some money.
They probably paid every bit of profit I bet that Disney made from the distribution side. If they made $100 million in profit from distribution, I bet they probably had to turn around and write that $100 million check over to Cameron and Lightstorm to put that damn thing on Disney Plus.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. That's the thing is, you got to remember with these James Cameron movies, and we learned how much that one costs, and we're starting to learn that the production costs on these films are a lot more than they're actually reporting.
Yeah.
Because there's other things and other ways that they write it up at the studio, but it's really associated with these productions, and it's ballooning these budgets way beyond the 250 million that we keep hearing now. Right? And the average is getting up there to more like a 300 million. Even some of these streaming series is like The Acolyte. We're hearing the rumor going around now is that the budget for that was $300 million.
Whoa.
That's money laundering.
For which one? I'm sorry.
The Acolyte.
That can't be.
Oh, yeah. That was DC's video today. And it's feasible.
It is feasible, though. This is one that I will say that no, and that's where people are like, is that because people come at me with it? And I said, look, that one sounds actually feasible because you got to think how long these series are.
Shot for 6 months. It was
that's
like
the thing.
6 months of principal
if they
photography.
It's just like shooting a movie and a half or two. That's what I was trying to tell people. Is that's very feasible. Think about what they were spending on those Star Trek shows.
Yeah. Now
$10 million. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say billion. $8 to $10 million an episode. An episode.
And that may not include UK film tax credits because again they met all the qualifications for those. So let's say that the gross spend really was something like 312. Right. Maybe it nets out to like 250. I mean, if you know how the UK film tax credits work, they can get back as much as 20% on below the line. They can get back anything they spent over there, like the money they paid to lease that soundstage in that back lot at Shinfield Studios that Disney was one of the first customers of to shoot that thing there for 6 months from November to May. And anything else they're working on that they're doing over there, if they're doing any kind of post-production, if they're anything else like that, they probably have a substantial amount, usually, like I said, somewhere around 15 to 20% of eligible costs.
Well, that's on the baseline thing. When you're dealing with a big budget studio, they do not negotiate tax credits for anything less than 50%.
Oh, that much?
Yeah. So if you're reporting like a $300 million, they're probably
50% of eligible expenses, right?
Well, no, it's usually like that. That's what they lock in for their deals. So if they are reporting like 300 million, they're really only spending 150 because they're getting that back. And but they are spending 300 million, but they're really only spending of their own stuff or their own assets are locally as 150 because another 150 of that is tax credits. And that's how productions work.
Okay, I didn't realize. I thought there was.
When you are a studio at the level of Disney, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Sony, Universal, you are getting the most tax credit you can of anything ever, always. If you are smaller ones, probably 15, 20%, maybe a little bit, little around that, maybe a little more, depending on how much extra work you're able to bring into the locally to them. But yes, if you are a studio like that, you have everyone you can in place to make sure you get the most tax credits you can on your production. And 50% usually ends up being the minimum.
I hear you. No, I just want to clarify. My understanding is, I mean, I would think even regardless of what kind of studio size you are, the expenses that you would make on a production of that scale, they're not going to get tax credits towards things like paying Leslie Headland or Amanda Stenberg or Lee Jung Jae or stuff like that.
Those are pre-production costs, so that's different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like the total spend is X, but when you look at here's what we actually spent renting Shinfield, hiring a local production crew, et cetera, anything we actually spent in the UK is what you're saying that in that case, that's what they're getting this higher tax credit on.
But I know you have to run here soon, gotcha. Valiant. But like the whole point is, though, is they're spending a lot on these fucking productions. That's what we're getting on this.
Yeah.
And this is why the streaming thing is imploding so quickly. And we all predicted it, right? Like 90% of us on this.
It was unsustainable. I mean,
at least, if not all of us, I'm sure.
Universal, I keep saying this. Universal is the only one I think that found a really brilliant, happy medium.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this because again, Peacock just basically took the network model, put it on streaming, and if they actually had good content, they'd probably be the best ones, the most popular streaming service.
And I agree with
in
that,
the world.
That's where I think that the four are going to make it, or the main few that make it stand are going to be is whoever tags on self. Like we got, if Disney's smart and puts ABC on their streaming service and makes that the network side of their streaming service, NBC already has it done. Somebody should pick up Fox and do that. And then, the other one's already taken. CBS is Paramount. So like, and you could actually watch CBS already through Paramount. I know we brought this up.
Yeah. Oh no, like Paramount. I mean, they have that one Wells Fargo analyst that's trying to undersell Paramount right now, and I think there's
some issues.
I think there's he has very suspicious numbers. I'll put it that way.
I have to look into it, but yeah, I've been getting a lot of stuff on Paramount and Star Trek, and I got to dig through it all. I just say because he's trying to say that Paramount, the whole company, is worth like $30 billion. I'm like, I don't know. That's a little low. I mean, it's on the upswing right now. It's got a couple of movies coming out in the next few months. Mission Impossible is definitely going to change its market share. For sure.
Who was saying that script? I'm sorry, I missed you.
I can't remember what it was. It was a Hollywood Reporter article, one of the Wells Fargo's financial analysts.
Yeah, there's something going on over at Paramount right now, but
I know what you're talking about. So what that probably stems from, I think I came across that the other day. So just to put that in perspective real quick, because that's a great point. So right now, if you look at Paramount, if you actually look at PARA, which is the ticker symbol, their market cap is $10.4 billion. Right, that's just what they're worth right now, according to what their stock price is, times the number of outstanding shares that are there. So a Wells Fargo analyst is looking at this going, okay, right now Paramount is trading at $15 a share. We think, we're putting a price target on this thing in the next 12 months, for example. And I don't know what this is. I'm speculating. This is example, please, folks. This is not financial advice. But Wells Fargo is a big analyst out there, and they probably said, well, we have a price target on this of 45. So that would make the market cap, their speculation is it's actually probably worth 30 billion, but right now it's way undervalued. So that's kind of how that works from that side of things, just so everybody knows. But I mean, it could be. I think long term, is Paramount undervalued? Probably. I mean, shit, the market cap is $10 billion. To me, that seems crazy. It is very low. It's just that they've had so many issues that this is where the emotional aspect of investing comes in, that most investors have kind of been very tepid. They've stayed away from it. But the minute they have some really super good news, you'll probably see a bump.
Yeah, I think they're trying to undervalue it so that people buy in, so that they sell out now so that they can buy in more, so that when when MI7 comes out and they get that huge box office run in the legs of that film because it's a Tom Cruise tentpole, they'll get an increase in value. I think it's actually market manipulation because the things that I know that's going on at Paramount right now, and it's slow moving. on the creative side of things, but also with the fact that they were the only studio that bought up spec scripts prior to the pandemic and during the pandemic, which means they've got a whole bunch of original content on their slate to come out over the next 2 years. Suggests to me that they have a better shot of actually, getting back to what they were 15 years ago than what's been happening over the last decade.
I think they're positioning to sell
studios right now.
Yeah. I think they're positioning to sell. And I mean, if I'm
I think they're
Paramount,
going to sell some assets, but I don't think they're going to be able to sell the whole company because, again, the Securities and Exchange has already said no media company is authorized to purchase CBS, Paramount, the whole package.
yeah, well, that can change too. And I agree with you. I know they've said that, but I've heard that before. And you look, I hate to be nihilistic with this, but you put the money in the right pockets and things can change overnight.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a $10 billion major Hollywood studio. You've got, places like Apple and Amazon are looking at this going, man, that's too good. And if I'm Paramount right now and my stock price is what it is, one of the reasons that companies enjoy having stock prices as low as they are like this for Paramount, what do? They buy back their own stock.
Yep.
And they wait. AMC did it. Worked great for them when they got memed.
Mm-hmm.
Saved their ass.
No, and that could be the case right now.
Yep. Indeed.
It's all speculative, of course, but yeah, we'll
completely. Yeah.
We'll wait.
But on that note, I know you have to leave us soon, so I'm going to get to the rest of these super chats for you, Valiant. We got one here from Mike, the Mexican Iron Man, listening in on the road. Safe travels, my brother. He says, given Mr. Renegade's new global popularity in news outlets and as his self-appointed tax and booking agent, Mr. Renegade's live stream fee is now $500 an hour. Thank you, Wire and Strike. What? I don't have that kind of money, Mikey.
God, I guess he's just.
Can I borrow $500, Mike?
Call Steven and ask him.
An hour. Were you here an hour? You got to get the fuck out of here.
All right, fine.
I'm kidding. Can't afford this shit. What the fuck?
Well, thank you guys for having me on.
All right,
there was I know.
Oh, you have another one?
I think so. I thought there was at least one more.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
I don't have 6 here, so I'm like, I'm trying to figure everything out. I don't want to miss anybody who did send one in. That's we can get that without you. I don't know. I don't think there's anything. I don't see anything. Yeah, so I think we're good. So yeah, if you have to get going, thank you so much for being here, Valiant. I appreciate it when you do get a chance to hop in, and congratulations on all your attention and success you're having. As much shit as we give you, we are proud of you, and I'm just glad to see it happen to somebody like you that we can exploit.
I appreciate it. You guys have all been great friends, and you can go ahead and exploit it all you want. No, you guys have been great friends, and y'all have been here since the beginning and have been.
No, you know I love you.
Nothing but encouraging and wonderful and supportive, and I thank you all. And we had like 800 people watching here a few minutes ago. I haven't looked in a minute, but please hit the like button
a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, we hit the like button, folks. If y'all haven't already, for God's sake, I gotta wait. Let me update the screen. Where are we on likes? We're at. Sometimes YouTube, I have to like manually refresh this stuff to actually see.
I got like
281.
280. Oh, that's unexactable. Come on, we got to get to 500. There's still 700 people in here, so we can
especially
get to 500
considering the
likes.
celebrity we have here. Thank you very much.
Will you please stop with the damn celebrity butters? Jesus God.
Well, Jesus, you're.
I don't know how good this is. Well, gosh, you're a celebrity, you know? I mean,
That'll work. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Appreciate y'all. I got to go do dinner. Take care.
I can't hear myself, so I don't know how bad it sounded. Thank you so much, guys. Our Valiant. Do check out his channel, Valiant Renegade, of course, online. We've got Steven Stalig, who sent us one in earlier. Thank you so much for being so patient, guys, with the super chats. Says, can we talk about reparations from Canada for this air pollution? Right? I got 2 of them right here. What's the deal, yo?
No, you started first.
What? How did we start it? It goes downhill,
downwind. Out of Chicago and Flint, Michigan, and everything else that wafted its way across the border up north. Come on.
I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, we'll take the forest fires. You take the chemicals.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're still dealing with the aftermath of that. Worse off too.
We're still dealing with the shit. The initials of that, of the chemicals.
I should not be laughing.
Yes, we shouldn't be laughing, but we have to, or we just lose it.
Yeah.
Tyler
like
Reese, thank you
at this point.
Yeah, right. Thank you for becoming a member. I didn't catch which level it was at. I apologize. So we'll just give you a and a whoops. And since we do puppies around here, let's do this one.
Hey, excuse me. Nada. Are you doing dishes? I hope so.
You got yourself a maximum effort puppy, even though you may not be one. I don't know. I didn't see which level, so just in case you got one. There you go. David Nelson's here. How you doing, David Nelson? Says on $1.99. Says no one tell Biden Corn Pop's son is Superman. What?
Huh?
It's harder falling up the stairs than down.
Oh shit! You guys didn't even hear that though. Well, those who listened last night on Comics Division did, but yeah, I played them the song before the stream. For those who know what it is. JWT6577 says, doesn't matter who they cast, the character has fallen out of cultural relevance. This will make the Flash look like a hit. I think you're assuming to Superman, or assuming you're talking about Superman.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either. There's a lot of things going against the Flash. I mean, first the casting, the constant changes of directors, the delays, the reshoots, the politicization of it, trying to use it to wipe the slate clean of the male superheroes to bring in female versions, which, I mean, listen, I'd rather them just bring in the female versions in addition to keeping the male ones around because you have a good dynamic that way, but they wanted to do a replacement, so that was foolish of them. And basically, this was a movie that, as I said last year, should have came out before the Batman, because then they wouldn't have had to they had the Batman to basically obfuscate the Flash. They don't have that now. They have to wait for Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle's probably not going to do it.
Yeah.
And Tiger Valley says Mr. Cornsweat is brave not to use a stage name. Yeah, and that's what they were getting at with the Biden joke. I get it now. You guys are explaining it in the chat. I got distracted with another Biden joke we were fucking laughing at. Anyway. Yeah, you would think that, and that's not even how you spell it. It's like corn S.
It's
take out the
A. There's no E, yeah, or there's no A. It's corn sweat, or it's corn's wet, whatever you want to.
Corn's what? Corn's it? Well, yeah, I'd like to hear him pronounce it just to hear how it's supposed to be. But anyway, Pilgrim Media says they are on Twitter. God help them, they have control. God help them have control. Yeah. Mion says hashtag Tintin is the true Indy 5. 22 letter left. I can ask shit. Well, we tried. Tried again. Scott Hughes says Superman question. Was the mirror space thing in the Reeve movie and the actual Phantom Zone or something that transported criminals to the Phantom Zone?
Technically, yes.
Like both?
Yeah.
Because we never really saw inside the Phantom Zone until Supergirl.
Correct.
Which is technically canon to the franchise.
To that stuff. The Salkinds did co-produce it, didn't they also? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. So I think both. I mean, I don't know how to answer that. That's a good question. And Richard Donner is no longer with us.
Yeah. Neither is Tom Mankiewicz or
anybody else who worked on that film that sadly passed
away. Yeah,
that's right.
So we'll say that's like when you get to the door and you're trying to get out, and they're just trying to bang to get out. How about that?
Probably, yeah. It's the window to the Phantom Zone.
Exactly. Yes.
It was very clear. It was kind of a stylistic thing that they did, filming it that way with the mirror thingy.
Yeah, probably Jeffrey Unsworth invented that. That was a brilliant thing to pulled off.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that came out of the comics, didn't it? No,
I think that's his.
So
the Phantom Zone was like a projector that kind of surrounded them in a glow.
Right.
And then
you just projected them and they ended up like ghost thingies in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Now, did they ever show inside the Phantom Zone, or was it
sometimes?
Just
sometimes. It was kind
of like what they showed in Supergirl, or okay?
Not particularly, not really in the comics, but yeah.
Okay. All right, but I was just wondering how close.
It's kind of a wasteland, but like you only saw like little instances of it because it'd either be there's the bad guys in the Phantom Zone, and this is them escaping, so you don't actually get to spend time in the Phantom Zone.
Non-corporeal,
right?
Yeah,
right. That's fair. All right. Well, thank you for that question, Scott. Sorry we couldn't answer it better than that. So Lazy was not so lazy to send in $10 and says, I'm probably in the minority, but I feel Gunn is overrated. Every comic book movie he makes is the same recycled tropes. I have no interest in his DC movies. That's fair. Some people can feel that way, and I get it. I look at it as a director, especially a director who has a voice like Gunn, who is a very strong voice, is it's a lot like listening to a band. Some people are just not going to like him as much as you do. And everything you think that comes out, it may be unique from the last thing, but some people may hear it and say, it just sounds like the last thing they did. And I'm guilty of that for that matter. But in this case, I have seen a lot of Gunn stuff. I think he has just the right tools and enough experience now to undertake Superman. Now, I can't say I'm as confident as far as the rest of the stuff goes, but I could be wrong. I'm willing to give him a shot, though. But I totally respect where you're coming from. And, it is one of those things where, yeah, you can totally tell a James Gunn movie when you see it. So I'll be curious to see if that's how he handles this Superman, or if this will be one of those movies where when you're watching, you're like, yeah, you could tell James Gunn directed this, but he's clearly, hopefully, writing a love letter to Superman instead of actually making a James Gunn movie, if that makes sense.
That's really the best method you can take to it.
Right.
Yeah. He's going to be, this is the one thing, Superman, that the first time he's doing something that is way outside of his wheelhouse, I think, in terms of he's never really tackled this big a character. And he may adjust. He may not bring all of his movie-making style to this. Maybe he realizes that there's certain things you can do in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie or a Suicide Squad, whatever movie, that you maybe should not do in Superman. Could be.
Yeah. Well, he's built up the skill set so that he could do Superman.
Yes.
And one of the things is that which he revealed on that podcast interview with Michael Rosenbaum, is that before they went to David Goyer and Zack Snyder, Warner Brothers offered him Superman, and he said, "I don't know if I'm able to do it. I'm too young. I'm too new of a filmmaker.
Right.
I don't." He didn't. Yeah. He was smart enough to say no because he respected the character. Where the arrogant jerk-offs of David Goyer, who thinks he's
Snyder,
the best, he thinks he's the best comic book screenwriter in the world.
Oh, he's horrible.
And he's terrible. And then Zack Snyder, who was stuck in Arrested Development doing music videos until he decided, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do the offensive thing and try and remake a classic zombie film that started the whole genre.
And try to make one of the most, revered, the word I'm looking for? Revered comics in history. And so he made 3 movies, and boom, I think I'm good enough to make Superman now.
Yeah. Anyone who makes Sucker Punch should not be able to allow to make a movie ever again, but
And sure, you could argue that Donner hadn't had much under his belt at that time.
Donner made The Omen, though.
Actually, Donner
he had made The Omen and worked in a lot of television and stuff. I was just going to say,
TV for 20 years.
Yeah. He started out as an actor. He then got into directing because he was better at that. He had 20 years under his belt already. And then he also had some of the best, again, like I said, he had Jeffrey Unsworth, who's one of the best cinematographers.
And also Tom Mankiewicz as well, that you mentioned.
Tom Mankiewicz had been writing for 30 years.
And the right attitude. Yeah. The attitude that he knew he was directing something that was already an icon and a legend. And he said, we're going to treat him that way.
And I think that's what James is going to go into this with, right? Like, I think he has the right sentimentality going into it from all the stuff he's posted. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, I think
so. But it could turn out to be a piece of crap. It could turn out to be something like Superman Returns. Well, here's the thing, Yellow Flash.
He didn't write it.
He didn't really write it.
He wrote it, but did he?
It was him and the Newmans wrote one draft that was rejected.
Yep,
Mankiewicz rewrote that thing from top to bottom.
Rewrote that thing from top to bottom, but Warner Brothers had already paid Mario Puzo the money. So in order for them to pay Mankiewicz and not screw around with the guilds at the time, Mankiewicz was given the creative consultant credit. And that's why he's got a single. That's why in the opening credits, you have creative consultant Tom Mankiewicz. It's a single marquee on there where Mario Puzo and the Newmans all have their own as well. So it's basically just trying to, appease to the idea
that and there's very little of the Puzo script.
My favorite Puzo story actually is related to this, and I've told it before, so I apologize to those who've heard it. But basically, when Puzo, after The Godfather was done, his first gig was writing Superman, right? Like, he's like, oh, cool, I got this big payday. I think he got, $500,000 or something like that to pay.
$250K, I think, something like
that. Or was it $250, something like that? Yeah, it was a hell of a hefty payday. So he's like, well, I might want to learn how to write a screenplay, because here's the kicker of the kickers, and I love how they covered this in the offer. Coppola was the one who did all the fucking work on it.
Yes.
Yeah, they were together and they talked and shit, but Coppola was the guy who actually sat down and wrote out The Godfather as a screenplay. And funniest thing of all funny things, Puzo goes into a bookstore, so he's like, all right, I got to learn how to write a screenplay. I've never actually written one before, technically. So he picks up a book to write screenplays, gets home, opens up the first page, and it goes, Chapter 1, How to Write a Screenplay. First things first, read the screenplay
For The Godfather.
for The Godfather. So he's like, fuck. He closes the book and throws it away. He proceeds to write basically a novel for Superman and Superman 2.
Yeah.
And then the new it just turned into a disaster.
Basically, Coppola is the one that knew how to structure his book into a screenplay format and make it work for what Coppola wanted to direct. And Mario Puzo was there just to basically reinforce the ideas or tell him that the characters wouldn't do this or that. And basically, they would fight over it all the time, but they managed to get something that actually worked.
Yeah,
and
they also
did not learn anything from that.
And they didn't have the right kind of humor in there, because like Donner knew there had to be humor in there, but it had to be out of the, the character moments, like, you got me, who's got you kind of stuff. They had stuff where literally Superman was flying down and saving somebody, and then here's what was it? What's his name? Kojak or whatever it was.
Otis?
No, Who Loves You, Baby?
Oh,
yeah, Telly Savalas.
Telly
They were
Savalas.
going to have. I mean, there's so many ridiculous things in the Puzo script.
Joke,
And that's just one of
like
them.
Batman 66 style
Right.
humor, and
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a link to that script on the one of those pages I used to go to. What was it?
Probably Superman movie archive or whatever it is.
Superman homepage, actually.
For resources.
Superman homepage, I think, has a transcript of the script. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I just saw it. There's a original screenplay by Puzo, and finally by the idiot Newmans, who were pretty bad also.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Newmans were a problem, yeah. And they went on to be the ones to write like Superman 3 and shit like that. So like
they're terrible.
And I love Superman 3 for what it is, but that's just because that's the first one where it's like not a hackneyed mess, because the second one is, once you see the Donner cut in comparison, it's like, what did they do to this movie? But anyhow, thank you for that. We appreciate that. Mihon says, I want to see Bill Skarsgård as Vandal Savage. Ran out.
That could be good.
Again, he ran out.
Yeah, I'd be curious for that one. Yeah, I mean, he's not my priority villain, but he'd be a good villain for a third, fourth movie.
I think the Skarsgårds are good, but they're a little overused.
Well, I'm talking about the villain, not the actor. Sorry if I.
Oh no, yeah, you're right about the.
I'm thinking about Vandal Savage as far
he has
as
not been used enough. You're probably
yeah.
No,
he's been overused in the cartoons recently, but he's he's been very potentially good villain, because he can't be killed. At least so far, he can't be killed.
Yeah. Waltman says, we did get a Five Nights at Freddy's trailer. Shout out to the major FNAF YouTubers for getting to be part of the film. Photos of them and very minor roles. Oh, I didn't hear about this. That's cool. I'm not a big Five Nights at Freddy's person, but for the fans of it, that's cool to hear. I guess I'll have to check it out. Anybody else here is a fan of it at all?
I haven't watched
Five Nights at Freddy's, not really, no.
Okay. Valentine's Tube says, hi, Script. Thanks for the other day writing show now. Well, there you go. I guess you talked to Valentine's Tube.
Oh, thanks for the advice the other day. Yeah, well, I guess for like writer's block and how to get around it. Yeah, you just got to push through.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yes.
I over the last 4 days, I've been writing my articles for Patreon, and each time I'm getting inspired by what I'm talking about to write down a script. I've written 2 pilots in the past 4 days, just breaking down my complaints with Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, and Secret Invasion. So it's
Now that that sparked my memory of us talking about that. Now that I remember that, there was another thing one of my writer friends told me about that helps them get out of writer's block. And that is to write something completely different. Like all of a sudden, just like if you're supposed to be writing something or whatever, and you're having a point where you're just like, I can't get past it, just start something completely different, unrelated.
Yeah.
And sometimes inspiration will come out of nowhere and you'll be like, oh, yeah. And you'll go back to that thing, or you'll just come up with something even better in the meantime. So you're not wasting your fucking time sitting there going in circles, basically.
Oh yeah, like I was sharing my ideas to my girlfriend, who she didn't respond well because she doesn't care. But I was also sending it to like friends back in LA. Like, I just came up with this thing. I'm showing them screenshots and stuff, and they're just like, "Oh, you like, they're screaming at me is like, I wish I could come up with that, or that's brilliant or cool. And yeah, that's just the thing. And yeah, when you start writing other things, it kind of it's basically just finding the another task, like what Einstein would do when he was trying to solve a calculation. He would just go back to a regular work job just to occupy other parts of his brain, so that the mathematics sides took a rest. And then as soon as he came back,
I kind of see that in movies sometimes. Don't you ever notice that and then you'll have they have that moment. They'll have that eureka moment when they're doing something completely unrelated.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you, Valentine's tube, for that. That was a good conversation about the writer's block. Because I get that sometimes too, even though I don't ever show anybody what I write. I don't write like a normal person does. Script notes. It's kind of, and then it's like, you're kind of running.
Now you got to work it.
Yeah, it's like, fuck.
Yours is more like clay. You throw the clay on the table, and it's like, there's my joke. Oh,
well, okay. Fix it.
All right, you gotta turn it into something that people will recognize.
I'll fix it, make it look good. All right, but anyway, we got Goddess of Whim, who's been here for 26 months. Thank you so much, Goddess of Whim. We appreciate that. Tiger Valley 62 has been a member for 10 months. Thank you for that. And Kenneth LaRock has been a member for 2 years now. Happy anniversary, Kenneth LaRock. Thank you so much. Parrot Head says Script Doctor isn't that big of a celebrity. Well, actually, he may be. We don't know.
I hope to God I'm never a big celebrity. I like the privacy that I have. I just want FU money. That's all I want.
FU money.
Yeah,
I like that. Action Com says, what about Kubrick Arthur C. Clarke collab?
Oh, for 2001?
Agreement that Clarke would write the story and then Kubrick would extract cinematic elements for the movie. Now, I can't remember. Was he writing at the same time Kubrick was working on?
I think he'd already started the book.
I can't remember. Yeah,
and
I know
Kubrick was helping him out with because that was a back and forth thing. We need an offer.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. It's been a while since I watched the making of that, but I do remember them being like, because that was at a time where, yeah, you're right. The book was coming first. He was writing it, but then Kubrick like saw it and he's like, oh, let's do this and that and the other. And yeah, they were kind of going back and forth on it, something like that. Yeah. I'll have to go back and watch that again. It's been a while. Yeah. I mean, collaboration's the greatest kind, and that's usually, where things can come alive. Right. And I've helped a lot of guys out where they'll just come to me. They're like, I'm hitting this brick wall and this is this and that. It's like, well, you got these two characters here, tie them together. Do you really need this? No. You're kind of saying that already here. And sometimes you just need an outside eye to kind of take a look at it, because things that you're so keyed in on, you're over concentrating on, or you
might be forgetting some of the supporting elements because you're focused so much on the mains. Like that's why I always say when you're writing a screenplay and you have a list of all your speaking characters, take a moment to actually analyze or think about what is it that speaking character is doing in their own story, because you want to give them as much effort, but your whole goal is to make sure that the attention is on your main characters.
Right.
You always want that one character that, if they're saying something, it has to be important enough for that people to actually believe that, yes, that'd be said. 2, understand a little bit of what that character is coming from. And 3, contribute to the progression of the plot or the goals of the main characters. And you can't do that just by throwaway lines, because throwaway lines just mean that you just don't want to put in the effort to actually solve the problem that is already being raised as an issue from other people looking at your story.
Here's a great example. There's a guy who I don't know if I still got a co-writing credit on that or not, but I should for the work I put into it. But one of the walls he was hitting was there was this character in the story that was like a mentor to another character. And they sent this character to the place where everything goes wrong for the character for the main events of the story. And that character never came back. And I said, look, you have this other character here that it comes out of nowhere. There's no real reason for why they sent this character there in the first place, other than this really, really tangential attachment. Because otherwise there's no, I don't understand it. So I'm like, how about you do this? And I said, why don't you make that character who's the mentor character actually be a part of that, group or the family that was killing people. That way there's a reason that they sent him out there in the first place. Like this was a setup from the start. And that kind of tied the whole thing together and helped it. Because at that point it was really hitting a brick wall. Because I'm like, I'm really stretching as to why this person would send them out there if they give this much of a crap about them. Because you're playing it up like they're this big mentor to them and you never bring them back later on. And I said, I think it would tie everything together. And it worked. That was just one of the things that I did. But like, yeah, sometimes you need things like that to just kind of make a story make sense. Because otherwise I told them just get rid of that fucking character and come up with a different reason, because they're just wasting time with it, I felt like. And taking away.
Every once in a while, there's the ambitious writer wants to have all these characters to make the universe really, really big and beautiful and bold. And at the same time, you're looking at it's like, well, you really don't need these 7 or these 12. You just need maybe these 3 or 4. And that's kind of what you have to focus on, because it's about.
Or sometimes you can combine characters.
Stories,
and shit.
Yeah. You combine characters, because stories are about the intimate perspective of this character or these characters, and their exploration of this world. So the fewer voices you have, the more you're able to explore the world more coherently. And the more voices that you have, it just becomes basically an overstimulated mess. But you can build on that. Like if you have progressive stories, chapters, you bring in a new character with each new story, and you can build it up that way, as opposed to just cramming it all into one. But again, write one good story first before you start expanding onto the other.
Yeah, and then Action comments that what's the difference between a collab and, a writer using a human encyclopedia for story details? Well, that would be more like...
That's what you negotiate, really.
Well, I think what he's meaning here is like, okay, let's say I'm going to do a story starring about a cop or a detective. So I actually go and I interview a couple of old detectives or something like that, just to kind of... You're just using them for references and kind of an idea. They're not giving you the story. That's not so much a collaboration as it is you're going to them just to kind of get an idea.
That's just research. Yeah.
Research. That's the word I was trying to look for. Thank you.
Like I've interviewed lawyers. I've interviewed police officers. I've interviewed scientists, doctors, all sorts of people, just to figure out like what are the basics with regards to what your career entails. And if you wish to share stories with me, you can, but keep in mind, I might have something similar to that I'm working on myself, or I might have no use for the story, but it gives me an understanding of your voice and maybe the other attitudes out of this as well. One of the things I actually kind of find it funny, and I've mentioned this before, is so I'm sure many people in the audience are familiar with X-Ray Girl. Well, if you ever work in the Canadian medical field, a lot of the women talk exactly like X-Ray Girl, and that's something that I picked up on. It was quite funny.
Yeah, that is.
Well, we're losing Nick here in a few minutes, and I know we have like one more super chat that's in the waiting right now, Jack. So please be patient, Jack, because there's one more story I wanted to hit, not to cut everything off here, but before Nick goes, because we discussed a little bit about this, because there was kind of a rumor or feeling, I guess you could say, that maybe the second part of Spider Curse was going to get delayed.
Oh, I heard
one of the actors
that.
had leaked that they hadn't even done their recording yet for it, and a few of us were like, wait a minute.
That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
You have to record that shit well in advance. So yeah, there's some talk.
Yeah, very
some talk that the Spider Curse Part 2 is going to be delayed. I think this is a bad thing for this movie, considering what kind of cliffhanger it was left on. And I haven't seen this movie. I think Script Doctor, you have, and I don't know if anybody else, CC or anybody else has, but yeah, I want to. Since you're going to be leaving, Nick, let's get your response to this first. Yeah,
I haven't.
So we don't have it might happen.
I haven't seen it, but I have heard some stuff about this for a few weeks now. I'm just like, man, that's a weird thing if there's any merit to that, because think about it. When the day across release, if you look at that day of early June 2024 versus March of 2025, you're looking at estimately roughly around 10 months. By that point, you should be beyond post-production at this point. Now, maybe I'll see this sometime between now and my death, maybe. However, this behind the scenes is very intriguing to see play, because it's like, how are we not at this stage? Like, especially like they did announce these movies far back. Like they announced these 2 together ago. and they announced them, and this is the delay dates. Remember, they used to have sooner dates. So now this is delayed again after the initial China virus delay. So this doesn't make any sense how this is having another postponement when they've had extra time to do this because of all the lockdowns and restrictions and all that. They had all the time in the world to do this, and they're sitting on this as people still need to get to work on the voice acting, and we're 10 minutes away from a theatrical date, which most likely will not reach its destination and probably have to get moved back. That's it's just really weird. Like, granted, I couldn't stand the Matrix Revolutions when it came out 6 months apart, but it's clear that they had both movies in a can. They just released them 6 months apart to have some breathing time. That's how it should be. Not, oh, hey, we're gonna release these less than a year apart, but we're going to work on this one. Well, I don't know. Hey, we'll get back to you guys on that. Oh, crap, guys. We got a deadline to hit. That's what this feels like. Yeah.
Could be an iceberg.
Really yes. This
Instead
is
of a
really
deadline.
weird. That's all I think about.
I'll give the movie
really
fucking
weird.
credit. I will give the sequel all the credit in the world. It even exceeded my expectations for it, considering.
Okay.
I mean, even I'll give it the credit for coming back to one of the few films that has ever come back to #1 that long after it come out. It's only happened a few rare times in history in the recent years, anyway. With like the other Spider-Man movie, No Way Home, being the last time I can remember a movie, I think, retaking the top spot.
It helps that there's a lack of interest in other new releases.
That's the problem. I was going to say, you have at what it's a winner, but is it though? Because it really is
the winner. It's the winner of the losers. Really, it's
yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, but it is doing well. It made its money. It warrants a sequel, but I can't believe, and this is in recent years, Sony has been better than this. I can't believe that they haven't got the sequel already almost ready to go. What is the deal here? If this is unless this is all bullshit, but
isn't some of the complaints that the anonymous person going under the name Steven is saying like Amy Pascal is asking for re-renders of things? Is that
I wouldn't be surprised.
Or another one? Yeah.
Honestly, let me see. I'm not 100% sure because there's been a few things going around about this because supposedly there's been some debunking. So Steven claimed that the third Spider-Verse installment was at risk of missing its March 29th, 2024 premiere date in an interview with Vulture. So this comes from Vulture. They've announced that Beyond the Spider-Verse will be released in March of next year. He said, I've seen people say, oh, they're probably worked on it at the same time. There's no way that movie's not coming out then. There's been no progress on pre-production side of things. But as far as the production side goes, the only progress that's been made is on the third one, and is any exploration or test that we've done for the movie was split into 2 parts. So what they're saying here,
they said that they were making it before they decided to split it into 2 parts, which means that they would, by just budgetary contract positions, they would have had to record all the voices before they even started physically like animating it.
Okay, so then everybody's fully focused on Across the Spider-Verse and barely crossing the finish line, Steven added. And now it's like, oh yeah, we now have another one. Sony Pictures releasing being forced to delay Spider-Man Beyond Spider-Verse's debut wasn't the only bombshell Steven dropped in the Variety expose either. Notably, the animator also alleged that the extreme working conditions on Across the Spider-Verse pushed animators to be to the brink, with over 100 crew members quitting over course of production. I do remember that. Remember that, guys? When there was a big thing with people quitting? I'm sure that Amy's probably at the core of that. You're probably not wrong, Script. But I don't know if this is what you're referring to yet, because I haven't seen her come up at all. It remains to be seen whether Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse will indeed be delayed, as Steven predicts, and Across the Spider-Verse's key creative personnel remain tight-lipped. So I don't know if Steven not working there anymore. Maybe you're right, Script. He doesn't know where they're at even.
I don't know. It just seems weird because, again, the standard practice with any animated film is,
yes,
well, the artists have to animate to the voices. That's how they know the lip move. That's how they try to nail the timing.
Right.
And if they get it close enough and it's just a little bit off, they could re-record. But they don't usually have to do that, especially today, because the animators are so damn good compared to what they were 25 years ago that they can solve that for that problem quite easily. So yeah, it just throws me off because, again, he mentioned that when they started the project, they were not unaware that it was going to be broken into 2 movies. So that means that they probably had a good 2 hours of, like, basically an audio timeline. Or sorry, an audio timeline for them to animate towards. That was basically the beginning and end of the script that was recorded by all the actors involved, or all the actors they wanted to have involved at that point. And that's what they animated to. But you also have the other aspect is that with the Spider-Verse films, a lot of the characters are wearing masks, so they have no lips to really animate too.
That's true.
So that saves them a whole slew of time. They only have to work on.
Yeah. But then again, if we're going off of that one chick, I can't remember her name now, who did the voice. She said
Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, she had even said that all that stuff that she hasn't done anything for the next movie yet or whatever.
Or she might have no idea what next movie they're asking her about. There's also that.
That could be.
Actors
I don't know.
Remember, when an actor signs onto a film,
I thought it was. I'd have to look it up.
They are not always told what the actual title of the movie is.
But we're running out of time with Nick, so I'm going to let him roll. Thank you, Nick, for being here. This will be redirected to the stream later on Toxic Tuesday. You want to inform everybody what y'all talking about?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, Tom. Always good to hang with you, CC Klobby, Script. Chat, thanks for being here. And let's see how everything goes for our future Superman. Hopefully the surface looks really nice. Hopefully what's behind the layer is equally as nice. Anyways, Toxic Tuesdays in a half hour, little over. We'll probably start a few minutes late so everyone can have time to get on going. But we'll be talking the Chuck Norris classic, The Hitman from 1991. So come on over and enjoy the cheese. That is Chuck Norris. And once again, thank you for having me. D-Bud, thanks for plugging the Toxic Tuesday link, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks again for having me, Tom.
Take care, Nick, and if I don't join you tonight, I'll definitely try to be there next week. Check out his channel there. This was in the Hollywood Reporter. According to this, Haley says she hasn't recorded any lines for Beyond the Spider-Verse yet. Trying to find the original story though, which I'm having a.
But here's the thing: if the animators didn't know it was two movies, the cast wouldn't have known it's two movies.
Yeah, that was my two questions. My first, obviously, being how far along did they go in this process?
Okay, here's her actual quote.
Making them together.
Nope. As you can imagine, this has been an ongoing thing since the moment the first one came out. There's been so much focus on everyone's blood, sweat, and tears has been put into making this the most incredible version that can be on itself. So she's implying, I think, that they haven't. That's kind of going with what he was saying, is that they shifted focus from two movies to one early on in the process, it sounds like.
Early on in the process, so they wouldn't have really finished the second movie.
That's what I think they're implying here.
Well, a lot of implications, but that's not a confirmation, though.
Again, and you're right, Script. It's not a confirmation, but
I just don't think she knows, and I don't think it's a bad thing for her not to know.
The only reason I'm going to say is you may be right, but I'm wondering still is we have not seen Jack squat on this third film.
Is this a situation where
they wouldn't be showing anything while still in theaters right now?
Well, maybe.
Oh, no way. I mean, this isn't. I mean, other studios have already learned that if you tease too much with regards to the sequel, you don't go to see the initial one. Matrix, I think it was Matrix Revolutions or Reloaded, the second one, had all those clips with regards to the third one that it was just kind of dampered a lot because those clips leaked really fast. And they're like, wait a minute, this spoils the movie for what I'm going to go see, this weekend. And it kind of did a couple of bumps. I remember that being circulated around especially when Warner Brothers was shooting Green Lantern, and they wanted to shoot a couple of scenes from the sequel that they were planning of, and the only thing that stopped them was, I think, Martin Campbell was like, I haven't finished the principal photography on this yet. I don't want to start shooting a second movie, and that's why luckily we never got a sequel to Green Lantern because it performed terribly. But at the same time, they didn't start trying to pre-market their sequel while the current one is still in the film, still in theaters, because again, anything that you do to say that there's going to be a second one for an original story, unlike something like an adaptation of Lord of the Rings, you're basically spoiling your audience to the point where it's like, well, I already saw.
I hear what you're saying.
And at the end of the movie, because I know which characters in that spot are going to.
And here, I'll send you the link to the interview here, because just reading this whole thing, and here's why I say this, I'm not so sure on this. I think because the way this interview sounds like she's seen the movie. This is like after the movie's come out, the Across the Spider-Verse, right? And she does kind of keep, like, she knows there's some surprise. She's like hints at that she knows some things that are coming. But she basically can't talk about it in there. Some other things. So here's the reason I say this. This is clearly like a puff piece interview. I can't imagine Sony would let that go without kind of spot checking that first if they didn't want to make sure that didn't. I don't know.
Her opening quote confirms that she never got an entire script, so she only got the scenes that she recorded. And because she only has the scenes that she recorded, she probably doesn't remember what's in the movie that she just saw and what was the stuff that she recorded.
True. Again, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here, but I just wonder. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see here. I've heard a few things myself, so I mean, even though I did hear about the debunking as well. I don't know. Anybody got anything to say about this, Klobby, CC?
No, not really. I don't know much about it like that movie either. I haven't watched that movie either. You and Tom and I are the only ones that don't like the Spider-Verse drivel.
First one.
My only other question is: will the writers' strike or potential actors' strike, impact the production on the sequel?
If they recorded all the dialogue for the sequel, nope, that's already done. So it's all in post-production's hand. So the actors won't have. And the only way they'll screw them over is if they are doing a cut and they're like, "Oh, we need to have the actor come in to re-record this section." They won't be able to do it.
I mean, unless Amy Pascal is to blame for this shit and how disorganized this situation is, because I can't believe it. Because I mean, Tom Rothman was all over the shit when he knew Ghostbusters was a good enough hit at the box office to greenlight the fourth one. Like he's like, okay, go, because he wants that out by Christmas.
Yep.
As big a hit as this was, I mean, that's the part where I gotta believe script that they would already have had this pretty well planned out and done with, and it's almost ready to go for the third film. Because if it's supposed to be out in March
of next year.
Yeah. So I mean, that's enough time yet. But I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and find out if they delay it or not. I just can't believe they would want to push it.
The only way I can see them being a delay is if the director is basically with regards to the writers and directors, which the writers can't really do anything right now because again, it's they're on strike. But if the directors decided, hey, yeah, you know what, that thing about Gwen Stacy and the whole rainbow flag thing, let's write that into the movie. And so once the strike's over, we'll write that in and then we'll re-record it. That might be a delay.
That's what I was going to say, Script, because at this point, things were such a success with the second film, you'd think they wouldn't want to rock the boat on anything.
Yeah.
Right? You think everybody would be like, no, everything's good. We did exactly what we needed to do. Let's just keep going down that path. Amy Pascal is the only wild card in this situation because we know she's batshit fucking crazy. Right? And she could come up with some crazy shit like what Script just said. She'd be like, oh, I see it's trending online that they think that she's an LGBTQ. Let's make her one. And that's where I've been saying this and not even with joking. I'm like, well, she's not trans until they fucking confirm that, yeah, she is. And even if they didn't write it that way, they will say it just because. And that's it. Game over, kids. You know, that's the ultimate trap, right? Anyway, let's get back into super chats here. We got Jack White who sent this in, says, did any of you see that the Metal Gear Solid collection has a release date on PS5 and Xbox Series X? And the new Rurouni Kenshin anime premieres next week. Can't wait. No, it's Metal Gear Solid collection. So is this all the games? Are they going to be remastered and stuff, or what's up?
1, 2, and 3.
Oh, so from the PS era?
Yeah,
or the Nintendo ones.
It's not like a graphical overhaul. It's just a collection with lots of bells and whistles.
I don't have either of those systems, so it means nothing to me. Sorry, Jack.
Well, I did enjoy the original PlayStation one. Yeah. Anyway, Waltman says Bud Light finally fires ad lead due to boycott. Yeah, somebody sent me the link to that. I passed that on to Andre like he didn't have enough on his plate already, but I can smell another ESG video coming off of that. Jack White says, did any of you see the most recent Nintendo Direct announcements for Super Mario RPG Remake being one of them? No, I didn't, but I'm not surprised. I did hear about this, though. Yes. I think you were talking
looks
about
like a
CC.
full remake. It's
somebody was anyway.
Retaining the visuals, but they are going all out on that one. So that looks really good, yeah. All
right, and then we've got Mecha J who says, whose Futurama trailer just dropped? Oh, You guys have thoughts on it? Well, let me think. That's Fox, Disney. Yeah, we may be able to do that and get away with it. They're usually not as bad.
I've seen it. It looks okay.
I haven't seen it yet, so let's see.
I didn't even know they were bringing it back.
I like this show, but I didn't know it's coming back. I like this show, but I've never been a huge fan. Oh, this came out.
Well, it has one. There's one caveat to it that might be a groaner.
Oh, don't tell me. Let me just see it
you're
here.
gonna see it, and you're gonna know, and it's gonna be
Yeah,
really?
I can have a feeling. Let me see if I can pick it up. This actually has over 2.25 million views already. Wow. Talk about popularity, Fulu.
Welcome to your new home. Our new home. Oh, we're back, baby.
In 2 seconds, you will collide with your destination.
Good news, everyone. We seem to have survived a massive disruption in the flow of time.
Wait,
Oh,
what
Lord.
exactly happened?
Here, look at this.
Why has it got to be time travel?
Well, that's the last movie that they had was time travel.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. To the ship.
A new virus has broken out.
Oh, is this what you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, you knew it. You knew it. Let's see how they handle this.
You jam this Q-tip up your nose. That looks kind of fun. I can't wait to do it hundreds of times.
Right?
Pretty lawless out here in crypto.
Well, maybe they'll handle it decently.
Say, you interested in a job?
Oh, that's cool.
All right, why don't you have a belt?
Or at least a substantial butt. Sorry, guys. I'm a flatty.
Spice is wearing underwear.
Manscaped me gift. That's an order. Ow! You do you, weirdo! Fight my glittering festive ass! Yep.
How do we get out of here?
Easy. We'll burrow out. Burrow! Burrow! I deserve that.
I'm just glad you're back.
Would you like to order erotic scented massage oil or fuzzy handcuffs?
Yes,
God,
please.
that's creepy.
I mean, yeah. So creepy.
That doesn't look too bad, but at the same time, it looks a little too modern. Like it doesn't have.
Yeah.
Some modernism's leaking into it.
Yep. Modernity again.
Yeah.
Modernity.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. Lord Kamina 2 says, check out Dead Mount Death Play. It's a Game of Thrones sized cast and growing. Mobs, secret organizations, an illusionist, and a necromancer. All right. Is there any karate in it? All right. I don't know what this would be on. I'm not so sure this is the type of game I would play either. This is something that the girls on Toxic Femme would probably know, though. Sorry, I can't say anything. That doesn't sound like anybody else knows what it is either. So
What?
sorry.
Oh.
No,
Sorry.
No, we're
Yeah.
bunch of
Thank
old
you for the support. We appreciate it. It's karate.
Karate.
So Back to the Future 3 back in. Yeah, pretty much, Steven. You're probably not wrong. But with that, I think we're going to wrap this up and send you guys over to Nick Weiser's stream. Script Doctor, anything you got going on you want to plug?
Just the Patreon stuff right now, trying to get more stuff out there. And I'm trying to be disciplined for everybody. I'm very much trying to. I just keep on getting inspired to write something. So I'm very sorry about that. But yes, we're doing that, and I'll be just follow me on Twitter, see where I'll be popping up. Yeah.
All right, CC, what you got going on?
The usual Friday night karaoke, and on Saturdays, the Doc Danger and CC music show, which is basically music television for undiscovered indie artists.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And Klobby, what you got going on? You always got a few things.
I don't know if we're having the comic book roundtable with Loki and the gang tomorrow night at 7 Central, but if we are, I'll be there. And then, of course, tomorrow night, my wild card Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then 9 p.m. again Thursday night with Klobby's Clubhouse with Raquel and Mark. I'll hang with Nick and the boys on Nick's Comic Shop channel, 8:30 Central Friday night, we're reviewing some amazing Spider-Man issues, the Ditko era, 4 more of those. Then the Saturday night Star Trek, 9 p.m. Central. Raquel and I are reviewing 4 more episodes. We're getting to the very tail end of Deep Space Nine.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you, and I can't wait till Deep Space 10. No?
Man, you learn things about yourself here. I was just told I'm not a Superman fan. Thank you, Adam. Why did I know? Why does anyone ever tell? I'm always the last one to know these things about myself. Just because I don't like Lois. Believe me, Lana's better. She's a redhead. Lois is a biatch.
We're gonna get fighting going on here or something?
No. I mean, I'm just
kidding.
Like to know these things about myself.
I'm just waiting for somebody like, fuck you, Lois is better. No.
No.
Oh, we got a new member. There is more hair on this ass than your head. Gee, I wonder who that is. Is a minimum effort puppy. Let's see here. What do we got for minimum effort puppy video? Here we go. Mikey's favorite video. Minimum effort puppy. Speaking. Why is it I say just puppy and you come over here? Hi, Sadie. She just come on over. Plopped her head on my lap here. All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here so Sadie can go outside. Clobby, I think you done plugging all your stuff there.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, brother. We appreciate it. And
thank you.
Thank you all for listening. Yes, indeed. And take care of yourselves and each other. And we'll see you on the morning show, most likely, for the most part. Yeah. See ya. Check out Nick's channel too.
Excuse me, ma'am. No porn at the bar.
Oh, it's okay. I'm transgender.
Oh, I had no idea.